Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. And you feel like you got a little bit of common sense, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And even if you don't, common sense is a disease I'm trying to make highly contagious, so go ahead and hit it anyway, okay? On this segment of the channel, we kind of get into the new laws and the minute laws, all from a common folk perspective. Don't come for me. I don't have any official law training. I don't have any official law degree. I just look up everything on good old Dr. Google and give my opinion on it back to you. Specifically in this video, we're going to get into the new laws that I feel like were made for common sense, decency, and the people. All right, we're going to talk about Cali. But before we get any deeper, first and foremost, my name is Key, and this is What's the Key.
For me, break, for me, break the body for me.
All right, y'all, let's get into it. As always, if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes, and any bell ringing you hear is my cat City being a kitty, okay? First one I want to talk about is Senate Bill 1100. So Senate Bill 1100 here in California is making it illegal for job postings and applications to post that a driver license is required, and only a driver license is required, if the job doesn't actually involve driving, okay? They found this to be discriminatory towards people that caught the bus, carpool, ride share, all that good jazz. So they had to make it illegal to require a driver license. The actual job doesn't require driving. So there are exceptions. Like I said, if the job actually requires driving, then yes, by all means, job postings list that a driver license is required. But it has to be an expected job function. You can't just say that you have to have it. And also another exception is if the traveling distance or the traveling takes to get there just is unreasonable through any other routes, such as train, rideshare, bus, etc. There's this full list of ways you can get to work. Okay, and you have to have a license in order to get to work, like you have to have a car. But I don't feel like for a majority of the jobs that will be the case. Most people only go to jobs that are closest to them, for one. So I can't see someone purposely taking away like a 6-hour, 7-hour, 8-hour bus ride, one way to a job. So this was signed into law on September 28, 2024, and it will go into effect on January 1st. Alrighty, the second bill we're going to get to is Bill 375. This is the disclosure of delivery drivers' identity for food delivery platforms, okay? And this is for third-party food delivery platform, which is defined as an online business that acts as an intermediate between the consumer and multiple food establishments or facilities. So we're talking about DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Postmates. They must disclose the first name and picture to the person the food is being delivered to when they are notified that their food is out for delivery. Any exemption for this is any delivery drivers that are employed by the actual restaurant, which, makes sense. Of course, they have all their employee information and everything in person. They actually see that person. But yes, that's the only exemption that I see. And this goes into effect on March 1st, 2025. Let me just say this. I could have sworn like with the major ones like DoorDash and Uber Eats, where I come off the top of my head, they already do that. They expose our first name and our picture to the people. So why would you come in the game doing less? I never got businesses that came into the game trying to do less than was already like set as the standard. Like I don't get that. Like why would you not disclose the name and a picture to somebody? You about to bring somebody to my house. Like from a random app. It's not like it's from the store. It's not like they're going to be in a Pizza Hut uniform. They're going to be in regular clothes. So why does the state of California have to tell you to disclose that? And it had to be enough people complain. It had to be enough of a thing where people were like trying to well, who's coming to my house? In that case, if this became like a scam thing and a bunch of people this could have been all bad. So I'm glad California put that into place because apparently these new apps coming on the scene just don't have the common sense to stay at the standard that some of these major apps have already put out. So the next bill we're looking at is Bill 1105, which goes into effect on January 1st, 2025. And this allows paid sick leave to agricultural workers. And it's a little different to just allowing them sick leave. They have sick leave, but in this case, if they work outside, they can use sick leave in a way that is preventative care, okay? So if they know it's gonna be super hot that day, it's super dusty that day, it's very smoky, it's floody, and you may have like an allergy reaction, you easily pass out, you easily get exhausted. I know if I go out on a hot day, I'm in the house for at least 2 days because I can get drained a lot from the sun. Okay, you can use a sick day as a form of preventative care. And I love this. I feel like this is going to open a whole new door to what can be used as a sick day. Because if you set a doctor's appointment, for any reason, you can use a sick day for a doctor's appointment, okay? But like outside workers, construction workers being able to say, hey, especially like in states like Arizona where it is 115 degrees outside. It's already 100 degrees in the morning. And maybe it's the only time they use the only time they use sick days and stuff like that. Let them. It's hot. It's hot. Like, I'm very curious to see how this expands going into the future with preventative care, okay? Let me know in the comments, what do you think could also be used as a sick day for preventative care? I know having my hair done, having my nails done, having a day to just rest as me, as a woman, to me is preventative care. It prevents me from getting angry and irritated with y'all because I ain't feeling at my best, okay? But that's a good law. I want to, like I said, let me know in the comments what else you think could be used as a sick day for preventative care. I like that law. And like I said, it's going to open the door to a lot more things. Okay? Because we're talking about agricultural workers outdoors. We got to worry about construction. What about people that work on ships and in bay yards? It's going to open a whole new window. I can't wait to see. All right, moving on. So Senate Bill 988 is the Freelance Worker Protection Act, and this goes into effect on January 1st, 2025. And this law basically makes minimum requirements that are required between a freelancer and the person that is employing the freelancer. And this is for all transactions greater than $250. So they must pay the freelance worker on or before the date that was specified in the contract. And a contract must be written, which I almost thought for a second, okay, what isn't that anyways? But now I'm thinking about it, just TV shows I've watched, things I've heard. Some employers will try to bully freelancers, and freelancers sometimes, in some cases, could be struggling for work, so they just want the work. They don't want to create a big debacle. They just want the guy to pay them and everything like that, and convince them not to give them a contract for whatever reason. And then, now they don't have a contract. So I like that the law requires a contract to be written. So now none of those bigger like, oh no, I'll pay you under the table. It's fine. No, state law says you have to have a contract. So now you can't play any of these people. And the hiring party must retain the contract for at least 4 years. So employers and businesses will have records of all the freelance work that they are hiring for at least 4 years per contract. So I like that, protect the freelance workers. I know a lot of people are more freelance nowadays, okay? I know people think of freelance as just artists and stuff like that, but it really can be anybody that's just doing jobs, okay? It's not just the art. There's a lot of people that own their own little business that will be considered more freelance work, okay? And yes, they want contracts in places, even if they are just them. Okay, or just them and their brother, or them and their friend, or just 3 or 4 of them. Yes, okay? I wonder if this kind of protects, how the youth will, if it snows, go out and shovel and grass, they'll go out and cut grass and things like that. Especially for like youth going out and cutting grass. I wonder if this helps protect them too. Require a contract for the little boy that's just going down the streets and cutting people's grass and per se, I'll pay you Friday. The little boy's like, okay, then he's coming back and he's not getting his money. So yeah, I wonder if it protects them in that case too. All right, moving on. Next, we have the Senate Bill 963, which is Human Trafficking or Domestic Violence Act, which goes into effect on January 1st, 2025. And this requires all general acute care hospitals with an emergency department to adopt and implement policies and procedures to facilitate the self-ID of an emergency department patient as a victim. So if a person comes up to you and says, hey, I'm a victim of African or DV, they have to start doing these minimally, okay? They have to provide them confidentiality, all right? And then in a reasonably prompt time, they have to offer them a private interview, okay? They have to offer this. The person can decline it. They do not have to do the interview if they do not want to under law. And what this is supposed to do is to help limit the liability for any injury or damages to patients who received info about any resources they can reach out to as long as the hospital acted in good faith, okay? What were the hospitals doing before? You're a hospital. Tell me they got to make a law in place for you to have something to help patients and require. So what were you doing? So it's like a person telling you, hey, I'm being advocate or I'm being abused. And then the other person was coming back in your room and you're like, hey, this person's saying they're being blah, blah, blah. Do you anything? Like what was going on in their head that this had to become a law? Always in my mind, if something had to become a law, it's because enough of it happened. Enough of it happened. Okay? Just like what was going on? That this would even need to be a law. That you need to even tell them this. You're a hospital. You're an emergency department. moving on. Just imagine if somebody's just self-IDing, hey, I'm a DV victim. Then they turn around, hey, did you hear that she said she was being, or I'm sorry to hear that. Have you looked up places? And you're not even as a medical professional trying to help. I saw a post when people say these new nurses need to go back to whatever because they're like me. And maybe that's why this had to be a law. Maybe we got all these mean girl nurses and stuff into the field and then they just stopped caring because the moolah is more important. So now they got to make laws. The next bill. All right, the next bill is Senate Bill 399, which also goes into effect on January 1st. And in this bill is the California Worker Freedom from Employer Intimidation Act. So the current law prevents any employer from making any type of rule or enforcing any type of existing rules that require an employee to go to a employee-sponsored event, whether that's something that's political or religion and etc. Now, like I said, California already made that law. They had to make this new law, this Senate Bill 399, to prevent employers from threatening, subjecting to fire, or retaliate against any employee that does not want to be in their employee-sponsored meeting. Like I said, they had to make it a law. It's because it happened, okay? They also had to put it into law that if the employers, they're on the jobs because they don't go to an employee-sponsored meeting, doesn't mean you don't pay them. They still get paid the regular wages for being at work. You can't not pay them because they don't want to go to your employee-sponsored political, religion meeting, etc. And now a $500 civil penalty is put into place for any violation. They will also allow the employee to seek monetary relief, including any punitive damages, if they do have to go to the courts and say, hey, I'm being retaliated against, and etc., etc. Oh, also, this also doesn't protect just the meetings, it's also communication. So if the employee doesn't want to talk to you about your religious, your political matter, and even if they go, no, I don't want to talk about him, and they're disgruntled way, you cannot retaliate or do anything like that. Basically, you can't fire an employee from wanting to go to work and be just work. They don't care about your opinions. They don't care to share their opinions with you. Okay, they're here to make their check and go home. All right. So this law exempts employees, and I feel like a lot of these exemptions are obvious, but like I said, we got to make things into law, common folks. We got to make things into law because common sense ain't so common. All right. So this law exempts employees if you're at a religious corporation or entity and it's anything about a religion, such as Bible study or anything talking about scriptures or anything that's going to be within the sermons, the work, you can't get out of that. They also have this in place for political organizations. So of course, if you're enjoying an employee-sponsored meeting, communicating about any political info or plans, you can't be somebody that's like, hey, well, I know I work for the Harris campaign, but I'm a Trump supporter and I don't want to, I don't want to hear anything. You can't do that if you're working under that political party. They can make you and retaliate and fire you for not going to their employee-sponsored meeting about plans and infos on the campaign. Okay? This does not count for nonprofit tax-exempt training programs with anything that relates to the training program. So if this is like a state, let's say it's state, the only thing I can think of in my head is like a state welding program. And then they had a meeting with like the welders, people come in and speak in classes all that time. You can't exempt that if you're in the training program. You're part of the training program, you got to go to the meeting, okay? Because it's all related to the training material. This also doesn't count for a public employer or a provider holding a new employee orientation. Okay, I can see that because if they're holding a new employee orientation, they may say the things that the company is related to or who the company sponsors or, who are their sponsors and etc. And, it's an initial meeting. You probably don't have to go to any meetings after that, but it is part of a new hire orientation. It is giving information about the company. So I definitely can see how that is an exemption, okay? You may not want to hear that your company's tied to them, okay, but it's an orientation. They're just telling you as a new hire. They're not forcing you or doing anything else. Like, okay, so I get that. And then the other thing, like we talked about, like on the training programs for educational institutes, anything that's part of that coursework, of course, you cannot opt out. So if you take a political class, you can't say you don't want to go to any political meetings or school, whatever. I can't even think of what they're called at this time. But anything like that, the little school events that they have, you can't say you don't want to do if it's part of the classwork just because, it's part of you signed up for it. All right. Now we got Bill 1966, which goes into effect on January 1st, 2025. And this one is human trafficking notice required by primary tickets. See, I'm not monetized anyway. Okay. Currently, they require businesses to post a notice that contains info on nonprofit organizations a person can call. So currently they have ticket sellers posting like at those brick and mortar facilities, posting notices with information that people who are experiencing trafficking or anything like that can reach out to for help, okay? Now they're requiring it for online ticket sales. California has this whole little notice that's written up in the law that must be required at the edge of all ticket sales as well. This notice will include a hotline information. You know, I kind of wonder if some of the brick and mortar places are already doing this online, but it makes sense. It makes sense that the people selling tickets for these places should have notices as well if these places actually hold notices. This next bill is Bill 2123 that goes into effect also on January 1st. It is the paid family leave, okay? And now you no longer have to use 2 weeks up vacation before you can use your paid family leave. Why did a person have to use 2 weeks of vacation first? Like, if the government puts something in place for you to use for family leave and you have a family situation that qualifies, why was it even a thing that's something that is read as vacation? Vacation meaning fun. Although, you know, I know people use vacation for other things, but vacation meaning fun would have to be used before you can use any of that paid family leave. That doesn't even make sense. It should be the other way around. They should use the paid family leave first, and then in any case that they still need some time off, then they can go into their vacation. But if they had a situation that qualified for paid family leave, I don't understand why vacation, something that's made for fun, was even put in there to do in the first place. Just the little things sometimes, you guys, just the little things. Second to last bill, you guys, Bill 2499, okay? So this bill is for unlawful discrimination in paid sick days, specifically for victims of violence, all right? And it goes into effect on January 1st. So apparently before, employers were discriminating or retaliating against anyone that used their sick days that have to go to court for DV, having to be a witness for any of this, for any stalking or ex assaults or anything. For them taking time off to appear in court, people, I guess, were using sick days and things for that, which mental health is a sickness. You know, if a person is being assaulted or abused, they probably have some physical pain. They will have some physical pain. So I don't understand what was the problem of them taking a sick day for something like that. It's going to take a mental toll no matter the situation, no matter the thing, whether they're a victim, a witness to it, or etc. It's going to take a toll. So if someone was using a sick day for it, I don't understand what the problem was. Like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes jobs really just never really want it. Like they just give out this because the laws state. I guarantee if the law went away right now for vacation, sick days, PTO, majority of the jobs would take it away. And they wouldn't have a working force. But moving on. Now this last bill makes me happy I'm not monetized yet, okay? Because I might just start speaking freely at this point. All right? So Bill 3089 is a formal apology for gross human rights violations and crimes against humanity. All right? With special considerations for African slaves and their descendants. So before this formal apology came out, in 2020, they created a task force to study and develop reparation proposals for African Americans with special consideration of those who are descendants of slaves. So this task force was created to address how Cali would initial their formal apology and to look into any laws or anything that could be still pushing the slave narrative, whether that be mental, physical, etc. So, before I get into what their actual formal apology is, let me tell you what the task force found, okay? They said and acknowledged that they benefited from slavery and stated that the anti-slavery law was just basically BS all the way up to 1865 because between 1850 and 1860, they brought a ton more slaves into California. And they terse said, the law is just, it's just there for principle. I think principle is actually written in there. It's just there for principle. The judges and the government overall continue to be terrible towards slaves. Let me know if any of this is something you didn't know. And this is probably something still occurring in 2024, 2025. All right. They admitted that industries benefited from their slavery. They admitted that courts prevented black people from testifying against white people. They admitted that they have more horrible monuments of slave owners and people who were just blatantly horrible towards black people throughout history in their state. They admitted there's a bunch of police killings. They admitted to segregation. All right. They admitted to having discriminatory housing policies. Okay. They admitted that they targeted property owned by black people for different projects and often seized it without giving them any type of compensation for it. Okay. They admitted that they were excluded from public transits and other public utilities, such as like a library or things like that. And they admitted that the eugenics movement thrived during that time, and many black people were sterilized and used for experiments against their will. We all knew this. Okay, we all know that this is still happening. Okay? So they had this task force, to figure out what was the best way to address their formal apology. This is California's bullshit ass formal apology. California says that they recognize and accept responsibility. And before I get deeper, Cali residents, if y'all read anything else, anybody else read anything else, something that I may be missing, let me know. All right, I'm all good for being corrected. Okay? I hope I can be corrected on this issue. But they admit that the state of California recognizes and accepts responsibility for the atrocities committed by the state. Whether it was through facilitating, enforcing, and promoting slavery in any type of way. All right? They're going to make a plaque memorializing this apology. Not here in the money. Not here in the land. They are also going to create a formal apology and have everybody in government sign it and submit a final copy to archives. That's it. Cali girl, you need to be slapped. Oh, wait. Because what? That's it? Y'all read all these atrocities that y'all task force came up in 2022 and thought that the best reparation proposal was a plaque and a written apology? Like I said, California residents, if there is something I am missing, please let me know. I'm hoping that I did. Because you can't go through that whole list that I just read and think that all they need is a I'm sorry. With the plaque. And a letter that's signed by the current people of government that goes, and some of them probably don't even care. Let me back up. Like I said, I'm glad I ain't monetized yet. Because Cali girl, no, absolutely not. What? That's what your task force came up with? That this was, out of all the things y'all said, you know what they probably thought? Well, everybody else was doing it too. Everybody else was doing it. So I think us just saying sorry should be good enough for them. Y'all knew where I was going to go with that. But y'all, that brings us to the end of the video. Okay? Let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Let me know if any of these bills were completely shocking to you that they had to be put into place. Any of these bills that you are happy are being put into place, because we know common sense ain't common, decency ain't decent for these employers, and these businesses dang sure ain't for the people. All right? But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.
For me, break, for me, break the body for me.